If you've ever watched a movie and, seen a dog just hit a perfect mark, or react emotionally to an actor, or perform some kind of complex, hilarious stunt, you've witnessed true cinematic magic.
Oh, absolutely.
But that flawless performance, it isn't just luck. It's not a quick splice job in editing.
Not at all.
Those complex actions require a level of preparation that goes, far beyond just basic obedience.
It's so much more. It's choreography, it's engineering, and it's psychology all rolled into one highly polished performance. What we see on screen, that's really the culmination of thousands of hours of incredibly specialized training.
Thousands of hours.
Yeah, and building this unbreakable working relationship between the animal and the handler under, well, some of the most challenging high-pressure circumstances you can imagine.
And that is precisely what we're exploring today. We've pulled an exhaustive deep dive from an excellent industry resource. It's the comprehensive training guide that was shared in Doggozila Magazine, and it really peels back the layers on how canine actors are, created.
Yep.
And this isn't just about admiring the stars. It's about extracting those professional secrets and then applying them to your relationship with your own dog. We're aiming to give you some really specialized, actionable knowledge.
And that's the powerful connection here. What's so fascinating is how the exact core principles, we're talking about concepts like cue discrimination, variable reward schedules, and environmental proofing.
Right.
The very same ones used to get Uggy or Lassie to perform under chaotic movie set pressure are the very tools that establish reliability, a deeper understanding, and, profound trust with your dog at home.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today is to go behind that velvet curtain, learn the technical, intensive methods that turn these basic skills into cinematic prowess, and examine the training breakthroughs of some of the biggest four-legged stars. And then, most importantly, deliver those powerful high-level techniques directly to you. We're really aiming to give you the technical know-how of a Hollywood handler. So, diving straight into the world of professional dog acting, the sources make it crystal clear that all those fancy specialized skills are, they're pretty much irrelevant if the dog can't perform reliably under optimal conditions first.
Exactly. The foundation has to be rock solid.
Non-negotiable.
It is absolutely non-negotiable. Foundation first. For a movie dog, basic obedience means mastering commands like sit, stay, and come with extreme reliability.
We're not talking about just a few seconds of stay.
No. We're talking 99.9% consistency, regardless of the location, the noise, or any distraction. This mastery is the universal language of communication.
Okay.
And without a dog, reliably holding a stay for minutes at a time while actors are moving all around them, there's just no basis to layer on those more complex, specialized actions.
And the key concept here that I think really separates a casual home dog from a star dog is what's called cue discrimination. It's not just doing the thing.
Yeah.
It's doing the specific thing based on a specific and often hidden instruction.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. Movie dogs don't just respond to general verbal commands. They have to distinguish between a very specific verbal cue, a subtle hand signal delivered from across the room,
Or even just an eye movement.
an eye movement from the trainer who might be hidden just off camera, or even a cue that's linked to a prop movement.
Wow.
And trainers use what are called secondary reinforcers. You might know them as bridging cues, like a clicker or a unique sound, to mark the precise millisecond the dog executes the desired behavior correctly.
So it's that surgical precision.
It's surgical clarity. That's what allows them to learn these incredibly long, complex behavior chains needed for those extended on-screen sequences.
Okay, so that brings us to what has to be the biggest obstacle. The sensory gauntlet that is a movie set. Lights, cameras, hundreds of people, action. It's sensory overwhelm.
Oh, it is. It would cause an untrained dog to immediately bolt or just freeze. It is sensory chaos. Just imagine a massive dark stage that suddenly erupts with blinding spotlights, cranes are swinging overhead, crew members are shuffling around, and maybe there's even a special effects blast.
And the dog has to just stay put.
The dog has to remain completely focused despite this whole barrage. And this brings us to the absolutely critical process: desensitization and gradual exposure.
That's the secret sauce.
That is the secret sauce to cinematic calm.
So if we're getting technical here,
Yeah.
what does that specialized desensitization methodology actually look like? It can't just be a quick introduction to the set.
Oh, no, not at all. It follows a rigorous, A really carefully managed exposure hierarchy.
An exposure hierarchy.
Yes. You start by identifying all the potential stressors: the sound of the camera dolly, the flash of the lights, the smell of a smoke machine,
All the little things you wouldn't even think of.
every single one. Then you introduce them at extremely low levels in a safe, quiet environment, and you systematically pair that stressful stimulus with a high-value treat or a play reward.
So you're changing the association.
Exactly. This is known as counter-conditioning. You're literally changing the dog's emotional response from anxiety or fear to one of positive anticipation.
So give us an example. Like if the dog is scared of the boom mic.
Perfect example. If the dog is scared of the boom mic, you might play a recording of it at a barely audible level while you're feeding them their absolute favorite thing, like chicken. Then, over weeks or even months, you gradually increase the volume and the proximity of the actual mic.
That sounds incredibly patient.
Yeah.
You're essentially training the dog to treat these explosive noises and flashing lights as cues for an immediate reward.
You are.
You're overriding their natural flight instinct.
Precisely. Handlers might even employ specialized techniques like ADR, which is attention deficit reduction, using highly engaging tasks or toys to divert the dog's focus from overwhelming stimuli, especially on a long shoot day.
That makes sense.
The paramount goal is that when the dog finally steps onto the actual high-pressure, loud set, they are so thoroughly habituated that all that noise and movement just registers as background noise.
So they can concentrate solely on the handler's cues.
Which are often invisible to us. Exactly.
This level of performance under duress, it brings up the critical topic of working conditions and welfare. I mean, while the goal is performance, the priority has to be the dog's safety and, their psychological comfort.
Absolutely. The welfare of these canine actors is paramount, and it's legally protected in many jurisdictions. You have professional handlers, often several of them for continuity and rest cycles, on set 24/7 to ensure the dog's physical and psychological well-being.
So what does that look like in practice?
It means they have to meticulously rehearse every scene that involves action without the dog first.
Ah, okay.
They confirm all the safety pathways, the sight lines. The physical and psychological protection provided by the handlers is what allows a dog to feel safe enough to work in such a high-pressure and, frankly, potentially hazardous environment.
And yet, despite all this preparation, dogs are sensitive creatures. They have off days, they get distracted, and a sudden, unexpected change on set can just break the whole performance.
It can. And this is why the human element is so vital. Handlers have to be incredibly patient, flexible, and ready to pivot at a moment's notice.
So if a dog decides that, I don't know, the sound technician's shadow is suddenly too spooky.
Then the trainer has to be ready to halt filming, offer a short break, and adjust the plan or maybe the reward location instantly. You can't just push through.
Right.
Furthermore, because cinematic performance requires continuity, doing the same action perfectly over 50 takes, it's physically and mentally exhausting.
50 takes, wow.
Oh, yeah. So mandatory, adequate rest breaks are essential for the dog to maintain the focus and energy needed to consistently perform these complex behaviors all day long. Their stamina is managed just like that of any major human actor.
And this intense commitment to the animal, this is what ultimately forges that incredible loving bond between the dog actor and their trainer. It's a real partnership built on trust.
It's a deep cooperation. The dog trusts its handler implicitly. They know that even in the face of, say, a terrifying special effect or a confusing scene, the person they love and rely on is right there, guiding them and keeping them safe.
That trust is really the engine of the performance.
Precisely. And if we analyze the training framework, the universal use of R+, or positive reinforcement, is the key to maintaining this magical bond.
Right.
That unwavering trust, which is built on consistent positive experiences and highly valued rewards, allows the dogs to bring such genuine emotional depth and joy to the screen. You cannot force a dog to look genuinely joyful or sad.
No.
You nurture that willingness through positive and willing participation.
Before we extract more of these practical technical tips, we really have to pause and pay homage to the icons. I mean, dog actors don't just fill space in a scene.
No, they often become the emotional center of a film.
Yeah, they define their breeds and capture the mood of an entire era.
They absolutely define cinematic eras. The case studies in the guide, they span nearly a century, and they illustrate the incredible evolution of dog training for the screen.
And they show how those technical skills translate into emotional impact.
That's it.
So let's begin with one of the earliest and, I think, most profound examples of cinematic loyalty, Terry.
Terry, a small Cairn Terrier who played Toto in the iconic 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Her performance was just foundational.
So what was the big training challenge for her?
The challenge for Terry was less about stunts and more about sustained, reliable presence. She had to navigate this transition between the small, quiet Kansas farm set and the huge, elaborate, and, often frightening sets of Oz.
Right.
That demonstrates perfect environmental proofing. Terry's enduring significance, it lies in establishing the dog as the true emotional anchor of the story.
The motivation for the entire plot, not just some side character.
Exactly.
And then we jump a few years ahead to perhaps the most enduring symbol of canine heroism, pal.
Pal, the rough collie who first starred as Lassie in Lassie Come Home back in 1943. Lassie just set the definitive benchmark for cinematic intelligence and loyalty.
And his training was groundbreaking for the time, right?
It really was because it relied heavily on behavior chaining,
Behavior chaining.
which is a sequence of previously learned actions that are linked together to form one complex performance.
So for instance, a sequence like, go warn the master, run to the well, bark 3 times, and then return.
Yes. That would have been taught as a single, flawless chain of cues. The success of Lassie really highlighted that dogs could be trained to appear to be problem-solving independently, which could drive a really complex narrative structure.
I find the cultural shift here so fascinating. The icon of the 1940s was this purebred, heroic Lassie, but then moving into the 1950s, we see a distinct celebration of, the common dog.
That's a key cultural indicator that's reflected in the cinema of the time. Higgins was this incredibly charismatic mixed-breed terrier who gained fame playing Benji, starting in 1959.
Everybody loves Benji.
And Benji was loved because he represented the charming, resourceful stray. Higgins' training was challenging because he had to perform actions that looked spontaneous and unprompted.
Right, like he was figuring it out himself.
Exactly. Opening doors, finding secret messages, navigating complex environments all alone. His success celebrated the intelligence and resilience that's achievable in any dog, regardless of their pedigree.
Okay, now let's fast forward to the modern era. The physical demands increased, and the performances became a lot more character-driven. When I think of Beasley, I just picture controlled chaos and a lot of drool.
A lot of drool. Beasley, the massive Dogue de Bordeaux, he defined the hilarious, destructive side of dog companionship in 1989's Turner and Hooch alongside Tom Hanks.
The classic.
It is. And Beasley's performance was a masterclass in performing intentional messiness.
Intentional messiness, I like that.
The trainers used very specific cues to initiate those exaggerated head shakes. The destructive chewing of furniture and the messy slobber, all of it, was highly rehearsed, technically perfect behaviors designed to appear entirely natural and chaotic.
So it proved that you could harness these, undesirable natural behaviors for high comedy.
Precisely.
And then we reach Uggy, who I think gave one of the most memorable and technically demanding performances in recent memory.
Uggy, the Jack Russell Terrier, was the heart of the silent, award-winning film The Artist in 2011.
And since the film relied entirely on visuals, Uggy's acting had to be perfect.
Impeccable. Impeccable physical timing and visible emotion. His trainer utilized advanced shaping to teach him these intricate, precise actions like feigning death on cue with the camera at a very specific angle or retrieving a specific prop without fail, take after take.
Incredible.
His performance proved that a dog could be a core emotive star in a plot that relies on subtlety. I mean, he earned global recognition and really set a new bar for canine acting professionalism.
And finally, let's consider the distinction the guide raises about non-physical contributions.
Right. This raises an important question about the versatility of dogs in film. While dogs like Uggy are physical actors, they also inspire and contribute to animation.
Okay.
The guide notes Max, who was also a Jack Russell Terrier, who provided the distinct voice of a dog in the animated film The Secret Life of Pets in 2016.
So his job was just barking.
Well, yes, but it was more than that. His performance was purely acoustic, providing the template for a wide range of expressive barks, whines, and growls. And it just reminds us that the essence of a dog's personality is central to storytelling across all genres, not just live action.
Okay, we've seen the Hollywood elite. Now, let's pivot and apply these professional standards to your life at home. I think the core lesson from these star handlers is that training is the language of communication.
It is. It's the language that builds trust and reliability.
It's the ultimate investment in your relationship.
It truly is. Training is so vital for safety, for providing mental stimulation, for clear communication, and, fundamentally deepening that human-dog bond. A trained dog is a confident dog.
And a confident dog is a happier dog.
Exactly.
So we start with the core obedience commands. Sit, stay, and come. Now, we all know how to teach these initially, so let's maybe skip the show the treat step and go right to the professional secret for star dog reliability.
Which is?
Proofing commands in novel environments.
That's the critical difference. A command is, well, it's pretty much useless if it only works in your quiet kitchen.
Right.
Proofing means systematically practicing the command in increasingly challenging environments with higher and higher levels of distraction.
So if you want a reliable stay, you have to practice it with
What? Bouncing balls.
bouncing balls, passing strangers, loud noises, different flooring types. You're essentially mimicking the chaos of a movie set, but in a controlled way, ensuring the dog understands that the cue means do this regardless of the context. And professional trainers, they maintain such high reliability through the strategic use of rewards, the schedules of reinforcement. So how do we transition from teaching a puppy where you reward every time to maintaining that laser focus in an adult dog?
You utilize a really strategic shift in how you deliver the reward. When a command is new, you use continuous reinforcement. That means you're rewarding every single time.
Okay.
But once the behavior is learned and it's reliable, you immediately transition to a variable schedule of reinforcement.
And what does that mean exactly?
It means the reward comes intermittently and unpredictably. Sometimes it's a tiny treat, sometimes it's massive praise, and sometimes it's a jackpot of 5 treats and intense play.
And why is that variability so potent for long-term reliability? What's the psychology there?
It creates resilience. The unpredictability maintains extremely high motivation, and it makes the behavior very resilient to extinction.
So it's like a slot machine.
It's exactly like a slot machine. If the dog knows a reward is coming every single time, they might stop trying if the reward fails to appear just once. But if the reward comes unpredictably, they keep working hard, hoping for that jackpot.
And that's how movie dogs perform complex behaviors even when the handler is hidden or the environment is distracting.
That is precisely how.
Okay, moving on to foundational life skills. Let's tackle housebreaking and crate training, the earliest and sometimes biggest hurdles.
Housebreaking requires a rigid routine and immediate preemptive action. The goal is to always take the dog out before they have an accident.
Right, set them up for success.
Always. Immediately upon waking, after eating, and after every single play session. And the guide stresses this. You must never punish an accident.
It's not their fault.
It's not. Simply clean it up thoroughly and reset the routine. For crate training, the guide really emphasizes introducing the crate slowly, making it a positive space associated with quiet rest, chew toys, and never ever using it for punishment.
It's a den, a safe retreat.
Exactly.
Now, the daily test of obedience often comes outside on the leash. Loose leash walking is, for many owners, the most frustrating routine of all.
It is the biggest relationship strain for sure. Loose leash walking requires teaching the dog that the reward, whether that's forward movement or a treat, only happens when the leash is slack.
So the moment the dog pulls.
The moment the dog pulls, you execute a zero-tolerance stop. You just stop moving. And you wait for that slack to return before you move again. This teaches them that pulling achieves absolutely nothing.
And the guide also mentions training tools.
Yes, it notes that training tools, particularly front clip harnesses, can physically help manage the pull, but, and this is a big but, they only work in conjunction with consistent training. They're a management tool, not a solution.
And the proper walking feeds directly into the vital necessity of socialization.
Absolutely. Socialization means providing controlled, positive exposure to new dogs, different types of people, varied environments, and loud noises throughout their lives, not just when they're puppies.
Okay, so what about dogs that develop some mild reactivity on walks? You know, the lunging or barking at triggers like other dogs.
The professional solution for that is often desensitization and counter-conditioning applied right there on the street. You keep the dog at a distance where they can acknowledge the trigger, but not react.
Below their threshold.
Exactly, below threshold. And then you immediately reward them with high-value food, like chicken or cheese. You're changing their emotional association from fear or aggression to anticipation of food.
Right, we've established these rock-solid foundations. Now we can introduce the fun, the advanced curriculum, the skills that truly showcase their intelligence and build those complex behaviors.
Yeah, this is where it gets really exciting.
So how do we teach them those impressive advanced tricks that rely on more than just, luring them with a treat?
We transition from luring to what is arguably the most powerful professional technique, shaping. Shaping builds complex behaviors incrementally.
Incrementally.
And it rewards the dog for actively offering the behavior, which makes them creative problem solvers. They're part of the process.
Let's get granular here and provide a really actionable, detailed example of shaping for our listeners. Let's use the example of teaching a dog to pick up a specific toy and place it in a box, a really common movie task.
Perfect. This is a perfect example of shaping a complex chain. So, you start by setting up the environment. You have the toy and the box. Step 1. You reward the dog simply for looking at the toy.
Just looking at it.
Just a glance. Click, treat. Step 2. You only reward the dog for moving towards the toy. Step 3. You only reward the dog for interacting with the toy, maybe just sniffing it or nudging it with their nose.
So you're constantly raising the bar, just a tiny bit.
A tiny bit. Step 4. You wait for the dog to place their mouth on the toy. Even if they drop it immediately, that's a win. You mark and reward that. Step 5. You only reward a sustained hold.
Okay, so now they're reliably picking it up.
Right. Once they are, you start shaping the movement towards the box. Step 6. Reward for holding the toy while taking just one step towards the box. Step 7. Reward for dropping the toy into the box. By constantly raising the criterion just slightly, the dog figures out the complex solution by themselves.
And that must increase their confidence and problem-solving skills dramatically.
It does. The genius of shaping is that the dog is never asked to make a massive leap. They are always succeeding at these small, manageable steps.
And this is the technique used for everything from teaching rollover to the most intricate tasks, like Uggy retrieving a specific letter and placing it on a desk.
Exactly. It makes them willing, thinking participants in the learning process.
Moving beyond tricks, the guide strongly advocates for the world of canine sports. These activities seem far beyond simple obedience.
They are. They provide this intense structure and purpose. They satisfy a deep, often untapped need in many dogs for a job. And these sports provide crucial, sustained mental and physical stimulation, which is so vital for overall health and for avoiding destructive behaviors that are just rooted in boredom.
Agility training seems to be the most popular entry point. What are the core skills, and why is it so mentally stimulating for them?
Agility requires speed, precise handler communication, and just intense mental focus. The core obstacles include things like the A-frame, the standard jumps, tunnels, and the highly challenging weave poles.
Oh, the weave poles look so hard.
They are. The weave poles, in particular, require the dog to use incredible body coordination while maintaining top speed. Furthermore, obstacles like the dog walk and the A-frame have designated contact zones that the dog must touch with at least one paw upon descent.
So it's teaching incredible behavioral control at high speeds.
It is. It's a dynamic, cooperative sport that builds an amazing partnership.
What about other high-drive, high-reward activities that provide this much-needed outlet?
The world of canine sports is so rich. You have obedience trials, which rigorously test a dog's ability to follow commands accurately at a distance.
So more than just basic sit.
Oh, much more. We're talking complex recall sequences, scent discrimination. Then there's flyball, which is a team relay sport where 4 dogs race over hurdles to retrieve a ball from a specialized box.
It sounds like chaos, but fun chaos.
It's high energy, it harnesses their chase and retrieval instincts, and it requires coordination with other dogs. It's fantastic.
And finally, dock diving, which is just pure athletic spectacle.
Dock diving is the ultimate demonstration of athletic prowess and drive. Dogs leap from a dock into the water, and they're judged on the distance they jump.
And this connects to their natural instincts.
Directly. It connects to a dog's innate drive for retrieving and swimming. It provides excellent low-impact exercise and is deeply fulfilling for these highly driven dogs. It often provides a competitive outlet that uses energy that might otherwise be spent anxiously at home.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these sports aren't just fun. They are fulfilling the dog's need for structure and purpose, just like a star dog's job on set.
Exactly. When a dog is physically exhausted and mentally stimulated through complex, structured tasks, they are much, much less likely to develop separation anxiety, destructive chewing, or reactivity. These sports channel powerful natural instincts, the desire to chase, leap, and retrieve, into positive, cooperative success for both members of the partnership.
Okay, so the training journey is a commitment. It's something that has to adapt as the dog evolves, starting with those critical early puppy months right through to their senior years.
It truly is for all ages. Puppies, for instance, have very specific needs that are focused on socialization and developing emotional resilience.
Right.
They require exposure to a wide variety of sights, sounds, surfaces, and people during their sensitive period, and you have to always ensure those exposures are positive.
And they also need that crucial bite inhibition training.
Yes, teaching them to control the pressure of their jaws through appropriate play and redirection, that's a huge one.
And for adult dogs who might already have some established behaviors, is it really possible to teach an old dog new tricks?
Absolutely. It's a myth that you can't. Adult dogs can and do learn new skills, and they often learn faster than puppies because they have established focus and muscle control.
But there's a catch.
There is. Training adult dogs often requires dedicated work to undo existing undesirable habits. If a dog has been practicing pulling on the leash for 5 years, the trainer must focus on systematic redirection and reinforcement for the new preferred behavior.
So you often need higher value rewards to break that habit cycle.
Exactly. You have to make the new behavior more rewarding than the old one.
And as our dogs enter their senior years, what does training look like then?
Yeah.
We still need to provide mental stimulation, but we have to adapt to, reduced mobility.
Senior dogs benefit immensely from continued mental stimulation to combat cognitive decline. The approach just has to be adapted. If physical activity is limited, the primary focus can shift to nose work or scent discrimination.
Using their strongest sense.
Their strongest sense. This activity requires minimal physical stress. The dog is just using its powerful sense of smell to locate specific scents or hidden treats. It's mentally exhausting and highly rewarding, perfect for maintaining cognitive sharpness and confidence, even if the dog has mobility or vision issues.
That's a great tip.
We also use adapted physical challenges like puzzles or soft fetch toys that minimize impact.
Now, despite our best efforts, sometimes a situation arises. I'm thinking severe aggression, chronic separation anxiety, that is just beyond our pay grade. When is the precise moment to call in a professional?
The moment a behavior causes a significant safety concern, impacts the dog's daily quality of life severely, or when you just feel overwhelmed and unable to make consistent progress.
That's when you need professional intervention.
You do. Professional trainers and often certified behavior consultants offer customized, hands-on guidance. Common reasons are severe anxiety, fear-based reactivity, or resource guarding.
Can we provide our listeners with some insight on how to maybe diagnose these behaviors accurately before they call a professional? What are some key distinctions?
That's a great question. It's crucial to understand the function of the behavior. For example, distinguishing between fear-based reactivity and territorial aggression.
That's the difference.
Fear-based reactivity is often defensive. The dog is trying to increase distance from a trigger. They'll often show avoidance signals like lip licking or whale eye before lunging. Territorial aggression, on the other hand, is often offensive. The dog is trying to drive an intruder away from a resource or a boundary they claim.
And a professional will use that diagnosis to tailor the intervention.
Yes, often involving counter-conditioning for fear or management and desensitization for resource guarding.
And if we do decide to seek help, vetting the trainer is critical. We want to ensure they adhere to ethical, positive reinforcement standards and protect the bond we've built. What language or methodology should listeners look for?
This is absolutely non-negotiable. You must research qualifications carefully. The guide emphasizes that a reputable trainer uses techniques that adhere to LIMA, least intrusive, minimally aversive.
Lima.
They rely exclusively on positive reinforcement, R+, counter-conditioning, and management. You must avoid any trainer who promotes dominance theory, uses methods that rely on physical punishment, or utilizes tools designed to cause pain or fear.
Because those can severely risk damaging the dog's confidence.
And the bond with you, the owner, it can do irreparable harm.
And finally, let's just acknowledge the reality of training. Setbacks are inevitable. Even Lassie probably missed a cue now and then.
Oh, I'm sure of it. That's the reality of working with a living creature. The key advice is persistence combined with deep patience. If the dog is failing, the training method is usually the issue, not the dog's capacity to learn.
That's a really important point.
It is. Step back. Break the action down into even smaller steps, reshaping it, and ensure your cues and rewards are consistent and high value. Patience and consistency are the two vital traits required to overcome any challenge and ensure the dog truly understands what is expected of them, whether it's walking politely or hitting a precise camera mark. #TagItro.
So we've taken the full journey from the incredible demands of the Hollywood soundstage detailing techniques like graduated desensitization and complex behavior chaining, all the way to the nuanced reality of proofing core obedience at home using variable schedules of reinforcement.
And the lesson here, it really transcends Hollywood. Training, whether it's preparing for a close-up or just preparing for a pleasant walk around the block, fundamentally strengthens your bond.
And dramatically improves your dog's well-being and confidence.
It does. It is a lifelong positive commitment.
So what does this all mean for you? Next time you see a talented dog actor perform a seamless, complex stunt, just remember the dedication behind it. It wasn't just raw talent.
Yep.
It was meticulous, positive reinforcement, calculated shaping, years of proofing, and an unwavering trust that allowed that animal to perform under incredible pressure.
The fact that a dog can learn to discriminate between a hair's breadth of difference in a silent hand signal, or perform an intricate chain of actions, or fly 30 feet through the air for a ball, just shows the extraordinary depth of their loyalty and their boundless intelligence.
And that same level of dedication and partnership that created a star like Uggy or Lassie.
Can unlock incredible potential in your own best friend at home. And that inspires us all to continue learning from and investing in these amazing animals.